Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. All right. Welcome to the Week Change Gang. I have the amazing Leilani Lucero here. I'm so excited for this. For me, this is like for me, one of those, because she is a healer and a Master Akashic Records Practitioner. And I really want to dive into the Akashic Records. Thanks for being here, Leilani. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Laura. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. So I just want to kind of chat. Some people won't even know what Akashic Records mean, and some people will be super excited to dive in and go into a little more detail. So maybe start with a little bit of the basics and just share, when you say you're working with Akashic Records, what does that mean?
Yeah, thank you. So the Akashic Records, essentially, there's a universal Akashic Records, and it holds everything since creation. And there are different religions and practices that refer to it. There's also each being, each entity has their own Akashic Records, and it holds your soul's truth. So that means it holds your purpose, your actions, your emotions, your memories, your potential possibilities, your actual outcomes. Everything is held within your Akashic Records. And so what I do, because it is such a personalized, unique experience for people, I allow and use it to go deeper into helping someone move forward through their healing, helping someone gain clarity and insight and truth and wisdom, helping them to allow themselves to see and live in empowerment, and so that they're creating magical possibilities in life, so that they're able to feel like there's nothing in the way, there's nothing blocking them, right? And so within the Akashic Records, because I have access to all these things, that might mean that I'm doing past life regression and pulling out patterns and things from past life that are playing out in their lives today. Or it could mean I'm tapping into patterns or beliefs or value systems from their ancestral lineage that also might be a hindrance or keeping them from living their soul's truth. And some of these may be conscious, some of them may be unconscious, right? And they may not know what's blocking them. And so it really is a beautiful, unique way that is everything that you are and everything available for you, and to allow you to live in your authenticity, in your truth, and in your power. And it's really, really incredible work.
That's really cool. That's so cool. I love the thought that all that information is out there. And when I think a little bit of it, I kind of think of like some people might say the universal energy or the information. Do you would that be an okay way to represent it, or is that a little bit different, do you think?
So we are connected to the oneness of all that is, right? We're energy. Everything that we work with is energy. The universe is energy. And so in that, yes, we are energy. And the Akashic Records is like an energetic repository that kind of lives in the ether. Some people may think of it and envision like a library of everything that you are, right? With all these books and things that holds all this information of you. I don't necessarily see it as such, but I'm able to go in with permission. And when I do session work with people, I do group work and individual session work where it's just like, okay, your higher self and you are saying yes to this so that we can help you actualize your desires, your dreams, and all of these things. And so in that sense, yes, energy is all encompassing and that is what we are. But there's also this component, right? This deeper spiritual components that, this thread of consciousness that is available for us and what we are living is connected to a greater power and a greater thing. And we're tapping into that as well.
That's wonderful. I have had it described, or, when I've looked at Akashic records, I can't remember who it was, another practitioner that did some Akashic work. And she, I think, did a little bit of a meditation where it was guiding you into a library, to find your book, your information, and, to look at that. When you're working with someone, are you doing something like that where you're guiding them, or are you pulling the information and gathering the information and giving it to them?
So it is a bit of a co-creation because you are giving me access, right? Like if you were the client, you are giving me access to open your records. But to me, it's not pulling information. I am a channel. And I have all the clear senses. So I'm being given everything that I need in all different types of ways to provide insight, to provide truth and healing and clarity for the client. And because the Akashic Records is based on the foundation of love. So it's all beautiful and it's all in service of you. And so when I tap in and I am given all of these things, it's so that it'll help propel you into living as your highest self. So I'm not necessarily pulling it. I'm not necessarily taking someone through. I am opening a channel that is available to tap into all of these things, right? And I can't, it would be incredible and fantastical and not in service if I got all of the things at once, right? Because there's just so much about one being, right? There's so many lives that we've led. There's so many ancestors, lineage, things aligned. So I am receiving and tapping into what is most important for this energetic time for somebody. So with where you are today, as we are together, what is most important for you to know to help you move forward?
Yeah, that's great. And that's what I was thinking. If I said pulling the information, I guess I was thinking more of receiving, you're receiving the information and kind of giving that information to the client. So that's you talked a little bit about the clairs and stuff, and that's all important. I'm curious, when you talk about channeling, so all of this stuff kind of comes together for me under a lot of the same, different words are used for the same information. Intuition is a little bit interchangeable with me with channeling, but for some people it's not. And I'm curious for you because I think of intuition almost exactly like you explained it, where we're using it. I always say intuition is the first sense, and it comes in and then it uses all of our other senses that we interpret and make sense of. So is that a little bit of what you do, or how would you distinguish channeling in terms of what you're doing for someone?
Yeah, I do think that some people we all have a channel to receive, right? Channeling is able to tap into something else, and it provides this, back and forth level of information, right? Like little sparks of things that's being received, that's being provided for, that's being given back to, right? It's this open channel. And there are some people that channel direct beings, right? There are some people that channel in general a higher power. I put myself in that part of it because I like to go to the highest form of light resonance that is possible. And then there are some people that, most of us, we have our intuition that says, okay, even though it's sunny outside, don't forget your umbrella, don't go down that street. Oh, you think about a friend and it's like, call that friend, and that friend, needed you when you spoke to them or something was going on, right? So we have that level of intuition. It is a little bit different, but intuition is a part of the channel, as opposed to channel doesn't always have to be a part of the intuition. So I agree with you in that sense. I think that's what we're also in alignment with that, right? And so some people may get downloads of oh, in order for this thing to actualize and come to fruition, do these 3 things or work on this or apply to this job or whatever it might be. You might be hitting into a deeper intuitive channel, but you may not be able to make the distinction, right? That you might be channeling. So it's an interesting conversation to have for sure. But I do think they're a bit different, and intuition kind of segues in and leads into the greater channel.
I love that. I think that you described that beautifully. So, and everybody kind of views it a little bit different. So I love that. I love listening to all the views, because then I can go, oh, okay. And where does that fit in for me? How would I process that, in my brain, in my understanding of things? And I have to say also, from the information that you sent me, you mentioned being a medium. And I just want to touch on that while we're talking about the different channels and stuff, because I think mediumship is also, in my opinion, tapping into that highest version of information and connection and all of that. Because oh goodness, now I'm curious. How does tapping into mediumship fit in with Akashic Records?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Because there are varying levels of energy that we're able to tap into. And a lot of us use our senses in different ways, where you may be kind of sitting and you feel somebody looking at you, right? And then you turn around and someone has glanced your way and you're in a coffee shop or whatever that may be. I feel like mediumship is a little bit like that, sensing into what is typically unseen but felt. And I, since a young child, had felt many beings around me. And as a kid, you don't know how to kind of articulate things. So I was a bit in fear, and I tried to hide myself and, put a blanket on me, turn away to the wall, go away kind of thing. And now I liken it to, I can never turn my senses off. I can never turn my channel off, but what I can do is kind of turn it down a little bit especially when I'm in quote unquote high trafficked areas, right? If I'm somewhere where there's a lot of people, there's probably also a lot of other beings that we may not see there, right? And that can be very overwhelming. So me as someone who has mediumship as a gift, I turn it down a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's the highest power and form of connection and consciousness, because many people actually have it. Being able to access the Akashic records at the level that you are, you can, because it's beautiful, because not everybody who's an Akashic Records practitioner is also a medium. Not everybody who's a medium is, everybody who is a medium is psychic, but not everybody who's psychic is a medium, right? So there's different varying levels of connection and consciousness. But what's great is that in my work, if needed, a transition loved one may come through to help provide messages and clarity in the session work that we're doing, in the healing work that we're doing within the Akashic Records, which is an added layer, right? So to be able to tap into the different kind of forms and modalities, it does feel energetically very different. It does feel, but I would say, and I just want this also to be clear, while I am a practitioner, everybody has the right to access their own Akashic Records. Everybody has the ability and the right. Some people choose not to. Some people, that's not their life's path, whatever the reason may be, but it's part of our intrinsic gift as a being of light to be able to tap in. So I hope that brings a little bit of clarity from my truth for myself.
Yeah, I actually really believe that the last part you just said there is kind of key to everything. In my own personal beliefs, and just from what I've learned in working with a lot of people, I believe we all have access to everything out there. We can all be mediums. We can all be, touching into our Akashic records. We're all intuitive. It's an innate part of us. It's what we choose to focus on and move in. It's like a little wagon wheel when you're looking at all the different paths that you can take. they're all there. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of which one do you want to go down, which one kind of connects for you, and which one do you feel most comfortable in working with. And that's why I think so many people who do the work like you and I do, tapping into some of those things. That's why I think there's such a variety and such a widespread where not only do you do Akashic Records, you do mediumship. And within all of that, you're doing healing and, and then maybe you're teaching some of that. You're doing all of the things, adding on all these little spokes to the wheel that allow you to kind of travel that journey in the universe, in life. And so I'm curious, I have to ask, obviously people do come to you, and I love that you do groups. I didn't know that you did groups. I'm gonna have to go look at that because that's super fun. Doing groups and doing, individual work. When they come to you, are you teaching them how to access their own Akashic record to get the information for themselves along with the insight that you're providing?
So I am also a spiritual teacher. That's part of my contract here, right? We all have contracts of how we want to live these lives that we had come into agreements with our own souls before entering this incarnation. And part of that contract for me is to be a spiritual teacher, right? To serve the collective in that way. So I have different offerings. I have courses. I have group transmissions. I have one-on-one session work. I have these different offerings that will help bring and raise our consciousness in a way that is most meant to serve. So it's beautiful. And this work, because the Akashic Records is it's so magnificent. It's so incredible. Each session is different. Each session is unique and personalized, and it has different elements of energy and what is brought, because we're all moving through energies, especially these days, right? The energy is so palpable and so big, right? And things are changing so frequently, right? Faster than they ever have been before, right? Like everybody's talking about the veils are thinner than they ever been before. These things are happening, right? So while it might be one client's contract and theme or design to go deeper into the learning, and that might come up through their own personal work with me, individual work, it may not be somebody else's. So it kind of just depends is the answer.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point, because I know that some people do just want to come and they need some clarity. They need a little bit of a information of here's a great path or here's a better path or something like that. And they don't want to know how they just want to know and feel, yes, that feels good and right. And yes. And so it's a lot of times, I think sometimes we're confirming information that's inside someone that they just can't see directly or can't navigate. And we're helping in that process. And so I'm really curious with the Akashic Records. Did you specifically, obviously you do more than one thing, and you mentioned as a child that you kind of had some of those things coming in, but when was your first experience and what was it like? What drove you to do more with the Akashic Records? There's three questions there, I think. When was your first experience? What was it like? And what drove you to do more? However you want to answer that.
Thank you for asking. So yes, I've been spiritual all my life. I have had my own experiences with spirit. I actually had a dark night of the soul at the age of 22, and it lasted quite a bit. There was a lot of identity and shadow work that was coming up and stuff with trauma and family. And, the Akashic Records, the term has become it's part of now, like the spiritual, quote unquote, new age. It's part of the vernacular nowadays, right? Like it's been talked about probably consistently, at least for the last 5 years. People are talking about it more and more. People have been more exposed to it. I had my first Akashic Records reading and I was like, okay, let me see how this is different. Because when I was younger, I was always seeing psychics, right? I had gone to like my first psychic reading when I was like 18, 19 years old. And because I had my own connection with spirit and I was very intuitive, I just knew things. My strongest clairsense is my cognitive ability to just know things, right? But I have, again, all the other clairsenses. So it was important, though, for me in my journey to heal what I needed to heal before this particular gift opened up in the way that it did. So I had an Akashic record session years ago with this woman who ended up being a mentor. She taught Akashic Records, classes. And when I first took the course, we were assigned practice partners, and immediately from like week one, practice partner one, it was like, oh, I'm able to tap in things very easily without any ego involved, without anything in the way. And so I tested it. I said, okay, hey everyone, I'm doing this thing. I'm offering free sessions. I had a really good network of people around the world. So I said, anybody that wants to do this, I'm offering free sessions. I ended up giving 30 to 40 free sessions to people all around the world. And every time I opened their records, it was powerful, it was poignant, it was accurate. And so I was like, here we go. I always, since I was very young, wanted to be in service, but the people that I looked up to was like Buddha and Mother Teresa, growing up in like the 80s and the 90s and seeing that there was so much of that, right, in the news, right? And I was just like, oh, their smiles are genuine. They look so happy. They're connected to so many people. And I wanted that, but I didn't know how that would come to fruition in the way that I could help serve. And so I had to go through my own journey. I had a background in corporate recruiting and tech, and I did that for a long time. I thought I wanted to go in nonprofit. I did a lot of volunteer things, right? And then when I started doing this work, it was like, here we go.
Don't you love that when you feel that it's like, oh, this is it. This is such a good place to be. And It just feels like you slip right in. It's like the little key, in the lock that is so amazing.
It was true alignment. And even before I started testing all of these people and giving these sessions, I was channeling and updating my website in real time. It was like, okay, spirit's coming through. This is now the work that you're doing. This is the path. And I never understood because I never had the sense of my own particular calling, but I knew I wanted to serve, but I never like wanted to be a doctor. I've never, wanted to be one particular thing. And all of the things that kind of unraveled and unfolded lined up so perfectly. And as it is, right, divine timing and orchestration does its own thing for us.
That's wonderful. That's so beautiful. So do you have a quick example of maybe someone that you've worked with that you just tapped into the Akashic Records for them and how that helped them, what that did for them?
Yeah. So most of the people that I work with, they're just trying to come back to self. They want to feel peace, right? We all want to feel peace within us. Like the timing that we're experiencing in the world can be very, very confusing right now. We are meant to raise our consciousness, to go deeper into what it means to be human, to evolve what the term human means, right? In a way that feels more alignment with our conscious soul. So it's so interesting because everyone is so different, but sometimes what may come through with people is like, I work with a lot of people that may have experience. This is such a general statement and it's not exactly true because I work with everybody that has so many different things, right? Because my clients, I work with them all over the world. We all experience different things, but the feelings, the emotions are very much the same. And that's beautiful because that's what it is to be human. We go through deep fear. We feel a little lost, unsure of ourselves. We kind of make ourselves smaller or hide or dim our light, right? Because we are not always feeling safe to be ourselves, to be, the truest versions of ourselves. So that's really what I work with people. How do we shine your light? What are the ways in which you don't feel safe? Let's clear that. Let's heal that. Let's move through that. It isn't always important to tell you what is in the way, because sometimes our ego minds will hold on to it and say, and keep us in that kind of story, right? But it's all of that. So I don't have a specific example for you that wants to come through right now from spirit, because even now I'm channeling, right? Even now, what wants to come through is most important for your listeners to hear. That possibility is endless and limitless and boundless. Our magic is within us. It is our light. It is our potentiality, and we have full access to it, but you have to make the choice. You have to make choice. Yeah, you have to make the conscious choice to want more for yourself and to be open to new experiences.
Yes.
So I know that doesn't quite answer your question, but it gives you, some people, a little bit of the flavor and the essence.
I think that's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I trust what comes through too. It's okay if it's not, down to the minute thing. But so if there's one thing, you just shared a lot of that. And if there's one place maybe that people can come connect with you really easily, absolutely, I'm going to share more than one. But what's the first place that you like to connect with people for them to come find you? Is it a website or on a social?
Yes.
Or what would that be?
Come find me at my website, leilanilucero.com, LeilaniLucero. Sometimes I do a free live with Leilani's on Zoom, where I do free mini readings and I connect with people. One of my favorite spaces is I do a monthly transmission that is channeled, and it's a community based. So people come in when they can, come out when they, and it's 90 minutes a month, and it gives us the energetic theme for the month to help us move through the month. And that's a fun, beautiful space. I just really love that space. So yeah, come find me. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I'm on all the things. I am Leilani Lucero is my handle on Instagram. But yeah, would love to connect.
That's great. And of course, all that information is going to be in the show notes, but I always love people to share it. And thank you for spelling it out. Some people don't do that. And I think it's so helpful when you do that. I have to spell mine out too, because people don't need to guess. It's so helpful if you just give it to them. So that's great. And that 90 minutes sounds beautiful. I love doing things like that kind of guide and help, because some people are so interested. It's like, well, how's that going to be helpful? If you know that there's turbulent energy coming, or if there's super smooth energy, or this energy or that. And I think it is so that it's not about reacting, but navigating it at that point and going, okay, so these days might be a little bit rough. If you're aware of that going into it, then you can go, oh, that's right. That's for that now. And I can shift and navigate that a little bit easier and in a way that feels better for me. And I think it's so beautiful that you do that. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Leilani, for being here. I truly appreciate it. And I think, wow, we jammed a lot into that's already 30 minutes, but thank you so much for doing that. I hope I didn't drill you too much.
No, that's great. Thank you.
All right. Well, there we go. Change Gang. I hope you go into the week, and I hope you go find Leilani and connect with her and see what's there for you, because there's just something magical in being able to connect with that energy that's out there. And I hope that you have a great week ahead, and I will meet you right here, same time next week. Ciao. I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.